turning our thoughts to globally, what are the big risks ahead?
We're in the middle of a war. And we spoke about currency wars a few years back. And that currency wars evolved into a trade war. And then the World Trade Organization is dead because of what America's doing, Trump's doing. So we have to reorganize and realign the trade issues around the world and the way that the world works. And it does need to be done because tariffs haven't worked, industries haven't been saved by tariffs. There are too many lobbyists benefiting from tariffs and organizing tariffs on their pet projects. And that's a friction for world trade. So this move away from tariffs and getting things is disruptive. But I think it's better in the long run that it happen. But how it happens and the steps and the missteps that might happen while it's happening are going to be difficult for different industries. And we're seeing it with Trump's bullying tactics. We've seen some of the farmers hurt already. So some individual industries and some people are going to get hurt. But the big field where the protagonists are going to muscle in is in tech. Right. And so what's going to happen? So we've seen some events happen with Huawei. We're seeing Taiwan voting that it would rather be a friend of mainland China than America. And there's quite a lot of tech in Taiwan, by the way. And things like that. So we're seeing a realignment. And because of the way America's been behaving, we feel it in Southeast Asia. The governments there are saying, well, it's been great to be a friend of America, but if America's not being a great friend right now, maybe we better be a better friend of China. So to some extent, what America's doing is disrupting their primary goal as well. So there's it's a long-winded way of suggesting that political risk is the main risk going forward.
Again.
And how that plays out and who gets hurt in the crossfire. Right. Europe needs to come back. Brexit's a sideshow on the whole Europe thing. Europe's not really working. Europe's a major problem, and how that pans out, I'm not sure. Demographics is an issue which is mentioned from time to time, but people are not perhaps measuring it as well. In the long term, the growth in people is declining around the world, and in 5 years' time it's going to start declining in China. So the big growth is Africa and from a low base, and because of the demographics, and India become a force, but there's lots of regulatory risk there too. But yeah, the things that keep me awake at night are valuation, interest rates too low, very difficult to operate on pricing assets when interest rates are below where they should be, and when interest rates rise, asset prices come down. So the reality rather than the risk is that asset price returns are going to be low for quite a while now.
And do you spend a lot of your time following news and political events and the global environment in general? How do you distinguish between what's important for the investments in your portfolios and what is just noise?
It's tricky. I have spent time in the past reacting quickly to events in case they happened and then they didn't happen. So I've learned to be a little bit more slow in activating, and by that I mean I don't go 0-1 on a lot of factors. We are long-term investors. We do take a long-term position with our assets, but asset allocation comes into fore on the political issue, and sector allocation comes through as well on that, and does affect it. But it's an ongoing thing, and it comes down to judgment on, is this now material, and is it not going to be material? It's tricky. Sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we don't. We were certainly aware of and debated for hours the trade war impact on China and our investments in China. And yeah, we thought, well, it's going to impact earnings a little bit, not too much. It's going to affect valuation in the short term. We're more earnings driven, so not too worried about valuation. But we do look at things on our risk basis that we can stomach a 10-15% decline, but a 20% decline we need to manage and do something about. And our initial estimates were there's going to be about a 10 to 15% impact on the market price of some shares that would last maybe 6 months. And unfortunately, it went down 10 and then it went down another 10, and some of them are down 30%. And so we got trumped in China, despite looking at it, despite watching it. And we did downweight, and it comes back to multi-counselor. One of our multi-counselors says, I'm not taking this risk, and he cut his China exposure right down in the right stocks and performed very well because of it. So we watch that all the time. Do we worry about how Brexit pans out? Not necessarily, except, and here's the key thing, here's another item. We've got these utilities in the UK, Vodafone and Scottish and Southern. What happens with Brexit? Well, on Brexit side, nothing. But if the Conservatives lose the next election, we've got Corbyn in charge. Those utilities could get nationalised. So we worry about that too. But now, do you sell at these prices, which are already, so how much is in the price, how much is not in the price? So it becomes a point that you need to be a little bit contrarian on it. But that's how the political comes into the micro.
Right.
There's examples for you. There's lots to worry about.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure,
Appreciate
Rob.
it. Nice to see you.
And thank you, Nedgroup. Appreciate the support. Let's hope 2019 is a lot better than I told you.